Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a very important topic for you to understand when you are in a relationship with a narcissist or a psychopath. And that is how the lack of empathy plays out. It really relates to the passivity with regards to satisfying your needs. The passivity with regards to satisfying your needs. So whether it means that they don't listen, they don't acknowledge, they don't validate, they minimize, they do the contrary. You bring up a health issue, you are no longer desirable to them. You bring up something that is important to you or something you heard about in the news, they will not discuss it. It has no relevance or meaning to them. They do not engage you in conversation back and forth or show interest or enthusiasm with hearing about you and your day. Everything tends to be lopsided and all about them. So the relationship then, in terms of the lack of empathy and being passive to be there for your needs, are also played out in a number of different ways. Being chronically late, not respecting your schedule, taking you off track, distracting you with what they need to say, with what they need to do, what they need to bring up, and just kind of taking you along for the ride. It's like chronically feeling like you're in shotgun or in the back seat with this individual. And then, unbeknownst to you, you become a willing participant. Why? Because the narcissist and the psychopath always need supply. They always need a target. They need someone with which to draw their energy or support off of. They're not like self-generating, in that way. The psychopath will tell you they need people. The narcissist will tell you they need people. Even the covert narcissist, they take a very covert pleasure with kind of getting absorbed in their own sort of retreating life. They can be very retreating or very retiring, meaning they are very passive to be there to take care of your needs. In other words, you might have something that needs attending to, something financially, something health-wise, something that's of timely nature for you. They are not rapt to be there right away. They are not apt to be there at all. People, I've had viewers who have had weekends where the narcissist or the psychopath was supposed to be there for the child. They end up hours late or making an excuse why they can't pick them up. There's a constant manipulating of the schedule. And it becomes so tedious that people eventually give in to their needs and not have their needs on the agenda, on the docket, on the table. It becomes completely convoluted and people end up feeling lost in the shuffle, unacknowledged, and disempowered and disenfranchised as an individual and feeling very depressed or helpless because of this and feeling lost. And that is because there's a passive supplying of, realizing of your needs. So especially if you can imagine those individuals who have these people as spouses or as parents growing up, the passivity with regards to satisfying of your needs. Even as a child, your needs will not be met. It is all about satisfying their needs as a narcissist or a psychopath, and then eventually, basically, the narcissist or psychopath will live vicariously through you. So in other words, very conditional love. Only loving you if you don't cry. Only loving you if you look perfect. Only loving you if you reply or reflect back to them what they need. Not about who you are, because a lot of people say they never know who I am. They never know who I was. They never know who I am. So they have difficulty being the person that they are because they were never allowed as a child to become who they were, because their life became about satisfying their narcissistic needs, their psychopathic needs, and not about becoming a person. It becomes about being responsive or responsible to the narcissist and not responsible to self. So there's not a presence of self-accountability. self-responsibility. It becomes all about being responsible to the narcissist, responsible to the psychopath. So it becomes flipped. And then people, maintain this disambiguous or very stressful state for oftentimes even decades, if not a lifetime. You hear all sorts of people who are on their deathbed still trying to satisfy their deceased parents' needs. They're still trying to be the person that the narcissist is trying to force them to be, and you can't live up to them because there's always going to be something wrong. The narcissist is the ultimate, and the psychopath, they will be the ultimate flaw finder. In other words, there is no empathy, there is no reflecting back to you or mirroring back to you a healthy sense of self in who you are and what your needs are, even as basic as to have eye contact, to be listened to be able to use your voice, put words together, and for them to say, oh, okay, I get it, I understand, and then work through and process those very embryonic, young feelings and emotions, school encounters, encounters with fear, encounters with how to time management with their kid, feeling how they relate to socially, where they belong, who they are, Plato, know thyself. So a lot of people then go through life kind of feeling like they don't know who they are, who I am. What am I? What is my life purpose? There's this whole unanswered void within them. And so then this void, because their needs have not been able, their I am has not been able to be reflected back to them, they go through life feeling with this very much a pain or a weakness, which then is translated into social anxiety. This feeling of I can burst out into tears. This feeling like you don't know what I'm going through. And then it gets played out in all sorts of other settings. In other words, it's the person who then becomes the policeman, the social worker, the lawyer, who is then acting out kind of their unmet childhood needs. Yet, until they become face to face with it, it will no longer taint or disrupt or cause issues, crippling issues, where they have emotional outbursts, anger outbursts, because they've never been heard or validated for who they are. That's a real source of anger, never being heard, never having that, that intercourse, not intercourse actually, but, emotional intercourse, if you will, with who you are, allowing it to give birth to that, you are you and I am me and you are important and let's take care of you and let's nurture you and grow you and show you how to cook and how to navigate with social things and how to know your talents and do your math, do your science. Let's do your geography. Okay, let's talk to your teacher. I mean, there is no this kind of allowing to be yourself, because you have to live for the narcissist. Do their cooking, do their cleaning, help them around the house, help them with attend to their needs, wonder why they're crying, wonder why they're screaming, wonder why they're drinking or why they're drugging. It becomes all about them, and it becomes a hollowing out. So these people feel like they have a shell of a life. That is what is happening when there's a passivity with regards to responding to your needs. It becomes kind of like a hole or internal debt, if you will, where the hole becomes deeper with time and become more painful. And that is the source of a lot of issues. So that is what you need to understand and then come to terms with. Now you need to validate and acknowledge the fact that you have needs, and now being the adult who you are, or, even if this has just been a recent relationship and they have not, you feel like a hollow shell of a person, wonder how you go on. How do you go on and continue to be a new relationship? It is because you need to now come to terms with and acknowledge your own needs. You're realistically, not what, on the appearance you want to, draw someone to you by this outer sort of experience or outer shell experience, but it's meeting the person inside. It's being the person inside and allowing it to pass through those qualifications versus the outer shell and satisfying them first, because that becomes way too imbalanced and people end up becoming extremely distressed, stressful, ignoring each other, the stonewalling, the people who live separate lives, it becomes a real gulf or chasm, a big split in people's lives if that is indeed how the relationship continues with a narcissist or a psychopath. It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.